Welcome back to Delivering More, folks. I'm your host, Ben Alkire. We appreciate you consuming the content morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you can. As always, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. That's going to help us out more than you could ever know. We have another great show to bring you folks today. I have a reoccurring co-host and guest with me here today, CEO and President Dehnke. D. What's up, man?
Not much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
I say it every time. It's fun to be back.
Second one of the year.
I know.
We're moving.
It's already in almost the middle of January, so we're on a good pace.
Yeah, this will probably release in February-ish, I imagine.
Cool.
So we're right on par.
Once a month.
Of course, yeah. Maybe we
Notch me in.
Yeah, we'll try to schedule them once a month. And our great guest today, I'm really appreciative of her taking the time out to join us today. We have CEO of Virtual Dining Concepts, Stephanie Sollers. Stephanie, thank you so much for being here.
Very happy to be here, gentlemen. Happy Friday.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're ending the week off on a high. I really do appreciate your time today.
Absolutely. Very happy to be here.
Cool. And so it is our first time as a trio kind of meeting virtually, I guess you could say. So I do want to start kind of in your background, maybe dive a little bit into that. As far as I could tell or what I could find, Fordham University, a BA in art history, New York City school. Are you a New York City resident or where did you grow up?
Born and raised in San Francisco, so 415 through and through. I then went over, it's a number I'm going to hold on to, let me tell you that. I then went to school in New York City and then spent the subsequent 7 years there working in fashion and advertising, and then spent 7 years really splitting my time between New York and LA. But now today I officially call Los Angeles my home, and our company, Virtual Dining Concepts, headquarters are in Orlando. So spend quite a bit of time en route back and forth between Florida and California.
Been racking up the miles for years, huh?
Yes, but you know what? I would rather go straight from A to B than pick one airline. So at the end of the year, it's always a scramble to see, am I really going to get status? But I do on now, I think it's 3 airlines this year I had status.
Nice. I think you can ask anybody that knows me with traveling.
Yeah, straight. We're going
I
straight
am loyal
there.
to no airline. Get me from point A to point B. I don't care what airline it is. So I'm with you.
Fastest, nonstop, most convenient, and doesn't matter if I'm in the back of the plane, if I'm flying a random airline I've never heard of before, as long as I get there as fast as I possibly can. That's what I do.
And I hate to put the pressure on you here early, but New York and LA, two of the major hubs in the United States, I imagine your preference is LA since that's where you reside now, but do you have a specific or any hot button topic we talk about between New York and LA?
Well, you can't make me choose between my 2 children. But I mean, I love them both. You know, that's an easy one for me. I live in LA, so clearly I have an affinity here, like you said. Life in LA is great. The energy in New York is unmatched. So, you know, I definitely love every single time I land, my heart beats faster when I'm in the car going into the city. 1, because I just know I'm going to see so many people. 2, the energy is just contagious. And the amount that you're able to do in a single day in New York City, I always reflect and I'm just shocked by how many people I met with, how many different conversations we had, what we were able to push forward. And you kind of need that moment to do it, and then you take a respite from it, and then when you're ready, you hop back in.
Yeah, the city that never sleeps. I don't think they say that as a joke in any capacity.
No, and I like to say you're on the eating and drinking treadmill while you're there too. So
amazing. And you kind of referenced your previous work history, right? As far as I could see, you came out of school and got into the fashion industry pretty early on. Christian Dior, Condé Nast, Fashion ETC, companies like that. Was fashion kind of your first passion? Ooh, little rhyme action there. That was on accident, but was fashion your first passion, or why was that kind of the business realm you went to out of school?
I definitely had an affinity towards fashion. I loved brand and I loved trend, and I also just loved the art inspiration behind it. I was an art history major, and so one of the things that I found really interesting when I was working at W Magazine for the editor um, was how valuable my art history was to the work that we were doing. I mean, there were countless days I would spend poring over various artists, catalogs and looking for inspiration that then we would leverage for either an upcoming editorial piece of content, or actually one of the cool things was being able to inspire some of the designers upcoming collections. So whether it was leaning into just like velvet as a texture and a fabric to see how was velvet used through a variety of different paintings throughout different centuries, and then using that as inspiration for upcoming designers collections.
Yeah, I would definitely not call myself a fashion buff, so it's probably a topic I shouldn't have even brought up. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a very interesting world.
You might
Right,
not be,
who are
but
you
whoever's listening
wearing?
could be.
Yeah, I think Jim, what's our hoodie brand? You think it's, I don't know, probably very basic. Who knows? But
New era.
oh, New Era. Okay, that's
Nice.
a
Okay.
decent brand. Yeah, okay, it's not bad.
Yeah.
Cool. And then kind of moving from there, right? You mentioned again the marketing and advertising world, ground truth, and I'm gonna butcher this name. I know I am, but Oguri,
Ogre. It's a tough one. It was always
Oguri.
hard.
Cool. Okay, but that is the realm kind of you delve into from there. That is the ballpark I kind of find myself in as of late, the marketing world. So that's very a big interest of mine as of late. Did you enjoy your time there? And you kind of, I imagine with virtual dining concepts, a major aspect of these brands you're working with is marketing them and getting them out to consumers. So I imagine you still enjoy time with marketing and advertising.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, I think when you look at the arc of my career, right, I started in fashion more on the editorial side. So we were thinking about consumer and we were thinking about marketing from a brand perspective, right? How could we feature luxury brands or products in a way that was exciting and almost accessible to a broader audience within these different catalogs? And while I was there, what I think is the interesting piece is I made the shift from the editorial side to the advertising side, and it was at a moment, an inflection point in the industry where we were shifting from print to digital. So we were going from having our daily print publication for Women's Wear Daily to actually redesigning and redeveloping wwd.com. We also launched an app at the time where we were hard coding pages from the magazine in that just didn't click out to anywhere, but they swiped and looked beautiful. And I bring that up because that is the core, or has been the foundation of my background, is a love for technology and product. And so while I was, very entrenched in this transition, because not that many people wanted to be part of the transition from print to digital, it gave me a lot of the early skills to lean into these two mobile ad tech companies that I then went on and spent the bulk of my career, around 7.5 years, helping to build and evangelize new mobile ad tech products. And so the fashion, while wonderful from a consumer perspective, was more so about getting into digital and product development, which is where I went from digital to then mobile. And you'll see, like, throughout the course of all of the changes I've made in my career, it's about leaning into the unknown, being extremely curious, and then evangelizing what then becomes a very large topic or a major industry, that everyone at some point has to lean into. Like, location data is now commoditized. Everyone has access to location data. When I started at what was then XAD, less than 10% of inventory on the exchanges was passing location data, let alone accurate data. And so that is kind of the key here for me, is about going into the unknown, being able to have a strong understanding of a space and a category, getting super deep, and then really helping to grow a particular business so that everyone, like listeners to your podcast, can take those learnings and apply them to their own business.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it's kind of speaking to just continuing to blaze your own path in new industries, right? So then you move on to cloud kitchens and DoorDash and beginning your time in the restaurant industry. My main question there is just how does a fashion and marketing interest become restaurant and food?
It's about breaking down the skills, right? And it's about thinking, I'm super curious. I absolutely love to learn and am willing to, like I just said, step into the unknown. And food technology at that ad technology. Let's take a moment there. Ad technology itself. When I looked around at a variety of other companies in at least the mobile space, we weren't innovating at the rate that we were when I started, right? It was like these more incremental changes to ad tech. And what I saw from the ghost kitchen space or just evolution in restaurants, like restaurants did not see the type of accelerated growth that we've seen in the last 3 4 years that they've seen for decades. And that's something I saw and I recognized with what the marketplaces were doing. And then when Travis went to cloud kitchens, um, that was a space I was just obsessed with learning. And it was the idea of being able to have an entrepreneurial spirit within one of these organizations and to truly build something new that no one understood, right? You don't have a background necessarily in ghost kitchens and virtual brands and celebrity concepts up until just now. Like that hadn't existed. So if you take my background between fashion and celebrity plus ad tech, so understanding product, and then the interest in a new vertical, you combine all that, and then I just happened to arrive in food tech at the exact moment where delivery just blew up.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's unbelievable timing.
it is. It
Yeah.
is. And
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of things to say from the last 3 to 4 years where people have found themselves in the right place, the right time, and I think it also comes with the right person, right? Opportunities cross everybody's path every single day, but you guys being able to maximize and blow up this concept and this brand is it speaks for itself.
Timing is everything.
Absolutely.
Facts, yeah, facts. And I guess, when obviously your time with Cloud Kitchens, I imagine, was the first catalyst towards this, but were you aware of, creator brands weren't really a thing when your time with Cloud Kitchens began, but ghost concepts in general, were you aware of those before your time with Cloud Kitchens, or when did you actually build a knowledge base around a subject matter like that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I was aware of the shift in consumer behavior from dine in to delivery. And I was aware of new brands appearing within the marketplaces. And what I learned firsthand was just that the economics of a delivery only unit, not specific to cloud, but just to any ghost kitchen business, the economics of a single brand in a single location, leveraging on the third party marketplaces with the fees, it's really difficult to make the economics make sense. And when you just look at a straight P&L and L and you think about what revenue you have coming in and what the model is, you have to start thinking, I've got to get new brands out here. I've got to diversify. And so it was just a clear, it was so obvious, right, that a single brand in a single location is not going to work. And so I was aware at the time of kind of second and third concepts operating from the same kitchen, but it really wasn't until I was at DoorDash where I saw the power of talent and celebrity driven concepts to be able to gain visibility on a very saturated marketplace very quickly. And to me, that's kind of economics and delivery only is challenging. Launching a brand is challenging without a built-in audience. Doing a single brand out of a single location is also really hard. And so what you have it lends itself to the business model, which is you have to have multiple concepts operating out of the same location. And to have the best chance at success, you have to build those brands in partnership with super engaged existing communities that are just hungry for more access to that particular creator, media company, or IP. And so, to the timing is everything and kind of right decisions. All of this coming together at this moment where the creator economy is exploding, the delivery landscape is exploding, marketplaces are more saturated. I think we found this incredible blend to really be the solution for any kitchen anywhere that has any excess capacity. And that could be ghost kitchen or restaurant. And so my personal thesis has shifted tremendously from we need new kitchens for delivery. We don't need new kitchens for delivery. We just need to optimize the kitchens that exist in our world today.
Absolutely. I think I have a great question, so we might be able to bridge the gap for some listeners here. I know we talked about your history and your past, and your transition from these different companies to now where you're at today. Can you talk to us a little bit about virtual dining concepts in the infancy stages, kind of how you fit into it, and now kind of where you guys are at today?
Yeah. So, I mean, virtual dining concepts at surface is a portfolio of creator and media and celebrity driven food concepts. But the core of our business is what I was just alluding to is creating this engine of incremental revenue that we can drive to any kitchen anywhere that has excess capacity. And when I say excess capacity, what that really means is that there is a restaurant that is already paying for their real estate. They already have staff coming to work every single day. They have ingredients and equipment that are on hand. But when you look at the utilization of that space, they have excess capacity that they could generate more revenue from. However, for that restaurant to actually generate that revenue, themselves, it might cost them more money. They might have to develop a new brand. They might have to market a new brand. They might have to hire more people. And so, what our business does is tap into the power of creators and celebrities with tens of millions of followers on any given platform, develop a brand new concept in partnership that's exciting for their fans. And then we bring that brand into a restaurant and they essentially plug the menu into their POS, turn it on, and start receiving extra orders using everything that they already pay for. And so we fill in that excess capacity with incremental revenue with a super low lift for these restaurant partners.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And in an opportunity where, in a landscape for the restaurant industry, when everybody's looking for more revenue, more opportunity, you always hear the never say no mentality. And this plugs in perfectly to it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, to the point we've seen so much innovation in the restaurant vertical over the last few years, from literally various real estate models to different food tech solutions. And I joined Virtual Dining Concepts last year as the CEO after seeing Robert Earl, Trish Giordano, and Robbie Earl, the three co-founders of the business, be absolute legends, pioneers. Their background in hospitality, restaurateurs for restaurateurs, and building Mr. Beast Burger that absolutely broke the internet, to arrive at this conclusion that um, economics in restaurants are hard. And it's always going to be hard. It's a low margin business. And if you can help improve those economics for restaurants and provide them a low lift solution to be more profitable, I mean, that is a sticky and successful business opportunity that's going to be around for a long time. And so virtual, I believe strongly, will be a necessary part of any kitchen's business plan moving forward.
Oh yeah, I mean everybody you just listed there. People in the restaurant industry, Trish. We work with our
Earl,
enterprises.
great people, great people.
But they are absolute pioneers, and all the different brands that they have under their umbrella, and they put their touch on.
Yeah,
are very
legend,
successful.
Pioneer. I mean,
exactly.
you all the words about these three, and just when you bring that together, I mean, it's magic.
Yeah, and you get what everybody here saw is the effect of Mr. Beast Burger when it took over.
Blowing up.
Now, for all the restaurants out there that are sitting here that for some reason they might not have heard about your guys' concept, how does a restaurant, if I'm the restaurant, how do I sign up? How do we tap in Mr. Beast Burger or any of the other brands that you guys have?
Reach out. You can go to our website, joinbdc.com.
Cool.
And, we really appreciate that, right? And because our backbone has been in the hospitality industry when you look at our leadership and executive team. And so we want to support restaurants, right? We want to help the industry. And so it really is about reaching out. And then it's for us understanding what ingredients do you have already? What's your equipment like? When do you have lower performing, hours within your particular restaurant or geographic location? And so we spend quite a bit of time with our portfolio concepts. We have about 22 different brands right now that have a totally different span, whether it's if you think about the audience that they reach, or the build that they have from what ingredients or the equipment that they utilize. And so we match those brands with the kitchens to make sure it's the lowest lift possible for them to start generating that extra cash.
Awesome.
Yeah, I guess I didn't necessarily consider that you guys would evaluate what that brand is already doing to see then which of your brands would best fit them to utilize. I didn't even consider that. That's actually very interesting.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that we'll see a very big shift in is we don't, yes, we have virtual in our brand name, but we don't think about these as virtual concepts. These are brands,
Right.
right? And what we saw early days when you had a second concept is that you are separating it from the consumer's point of view, right? You had it available only or exclusively on delivery, and a customer that walked into your store didn't see any marketing or tie-ins to that particular delivery only concept. I think what's happened is consumers have changed their awareness of what is happening in the restaurant industry, right? Like they are smart, they know what's going on, and they know some of these concepts were born for a delivery only business. But what we're seeing more today is the interest to bring some of these concepts to light in partnership with the restaurant. Right, the restaurant wants to be upfront that they are bringing a creator into their business in one way, shape, or form to be more relevant. And so that's kind of going to be this next frontier where there's a more omni-channel approach to these concepts. And at the end of the day, it's still driving more revenue and net new audiences to these existing kitchens that could not otherwise have reached, a super engaged sports audience through the Pardon My Take podcasters, for example.
Yeah, I mean I mean, we'll just skip right ahead then since you brought it up yourself. It's probably very evident. I mean, we're Canton, Ohio, very football-based town. So part of my take, I think Jim and I, he's smiling at me right now. We Monday, Wednesday, Friday, he like walks in. I'm like, hey, how far along are you in the podcast? Those are almost consistent conversations. The things, I mean, I can just jump right to it. The part of my cheesesteak brand, right? How does something like that develop on your guys' end? Is it you guys reaching out to them? Is it a mutual interest, or are you guys just seeing like, hey, these guys have a massive reach, we think we can convert it into a food brand? What are those conversations like?
Well, independent of that, the origin of that specific brand, we have a very long, long list of brands and creators and celebrities that reach out who want to build their legacy. And they're looking at not just growing their portfolio of business opportunities, but creating just new revenue streams, right? And they want to monetize communities that they have spent so long and so much time and energy building. And that's something that we provide. And they've seen that over and over with some of the other brands in our portfolio, right? Mr. Beast Burger, Mariah Carey's Cookies, now the Part of My Cheesesteak brand, Buddy V's Cake Slice. I mean, I can go
Yeah,
on. There's so
phase
many.
subs, you got them
And
all.
so, yes. And so, it's a very in demand partnership. And so that's kind of the first thing that I will say is just that we help these partners expand their business and connect with their consumers in a very different way. When it comes to each individual brand that we work with, it's so important for us to think about the long term opportunity of building that concept. We are not in the sponsorship business. We are not looking at just putting someone's name on something to capture eyeballs for a short period of time. And so when we think about the PMT podcast and Big Cat and PFT and what they've done. I mean, they're super excited and passionate guys that being able to build a brand with them has just been so fun. And Trish has done a phenomenal job. Thinking about aligning that brand with a college audience, being at at the various sports games and at the venues, and so it's not a brand that we just flipped onto a marketplace and said, okay, there's new revenue coming in. And we just took new photos and called it something different. It's a real brand with a real audience and a long-term strategy.
Yeah, we just got Mr. Beast Burger, I think a few weeks ago. I just saw it pop up on DoorDash. So I'm waiting for part of my cheesesteak. I'm waiting for it.
I'd love to hear about how right now a lot of it's content creators, right? A lot of the brands. Where does the athletes do they fit into this model, right? Is it strictly for the vision for the future of this? Is it going to be content creators, people that are big on social platforms, or do you guys have like an avenue for athletes and other verticals out there with a following?
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head with what you said at the end. It's with a following, right? And so we're not limited to any one type of, I mentioned creators a lot, but we're not limited to one category. We want to build brands in partnership with a variety of individuals or media companies that help reach an entirely wide-ranging audience, right? We have a brand with Lanky Box. It's a very young demographic going to Mr. Beast Burger next, and followed by FaZe Clan. And you start to look at these different audiences, and just alone, we reach from like 5 years old to 65 years old in terms of the demographics with our brands. And so we're not limited to one particular category, but it is limited to those that have a engaged following. Because if we're going to build a brand that starts out online, we want to make sure that our partner has built an audience that they can speak to online. And that's the key for any of these partnerships, is that they have a built-in connection with a large community, so that when we flip these brands live, we've got a very large group of people that are really excited about trying the concept and having a moment that's delivered beyond food.
Little Mad Max mac and
Yeah.
cheese.
Oh, yeah, Max Crosby, DN for the Las Vegas Raiders. That'd be a great brand. And I think what you said there for me, kind of making sure that the product is like a genuine fit for the audience, right? I think a lot of things nowadays, you see products that get brought out, and consumers nowadays, they can like suss out and sniff out something that's like a fake, just like a money grab, So making sure that you, like you're saying, these creators are aligned and ready to market these products themselves and be genuine with their audience, and make sure they're presenting a product that they're actually interested in, I think is probably very important.
Yeah, I was just at the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas, and there was a creator track. And Samir of Colin and Samir was on stage,
Yeah,
and he said something that was, we're looking at content product fit right now, where these creators, and I'm just going to use creators as the word, but creators don't have to change their content to support the product. The product aligns with their content that they're already creating. And so, I mean, that's exactly that point. It has to be on brand, and it has to integrate organically. Otherwise, to your point, it's going to feel like advertising or just shilling another product, and that's not what we're trying to do here.
for sure, for sure. And I think we'd probably, obviously we're in the delivery game here, so we'd probably be remiss if we didn't ask about how the delivery works a little bit.
Yeah, it's just a outside of. I know you guys recently opened a brick and mortar Mr. Beast Burger location, but majority of these are on marketplaces. It's delivery only, things of that nature. Everything that you've talked to us about is the restaurant facing, right? You're building up the brand, you're building consumers for that brand, and then you're implementing that brand into a restaurant's kitchen. Now, talk to us a little bit about what it's like on the back end, the last mile delivery piece. When you don't control that, your restaurants don't control that. What does that look like? And do you guys have kind of talked about any of the hurdles that you guys have?
Well, we face the same challenges that anyone delivering food or creating a food concept does. And so that's more of just an overall industry challenge, is that we want to make sure that we're delivering the best experience to customers. I think a part of that is having a close relationship with the delivery providers. I mean, we work very closely with Olo, as well as, Uber and DoorDash and Lyft from a driving perspective. And so I think relationships are very important. Um, but we don't control the last mile. And so what I think is interesting is the innovation that's happening in the space that I think is so, so early, but on, robot delivery or drone delivery, to see, how can we continue to disrupt to either reduce the delivery cost, because that is definitely a major, major factor, but also see, how can we automate or add technology to improve the delivery experience to make sure that the food, like our airline conversation, goes from A to B with no interruption,
Yeah,
nonstop trip, and the fastest
absolutely.
time between two locations.
Now, do you guys have, so our world's the pre-scheduled catering, right? The large order fulfillment side of things. Do you guys have opportunity for catering for these virtual dining concepts? Or is it, do you have a certain demographic that you're going for? Is it somebody, later in the evening, they want a quick meal? Or have you guys thought about targeting, office lunches or events of that nature?
Yeah, I mean, we have several brands that would perform exceptionally well from a catering perspective. I think one of the earlier challenges was a large order can take the kitchen team quite a bit of energy and time preparing that particular order to go out. And the original, opportunity for restaurants is that this doesn't impact your core day-to-day operations. Um, and so we had steered away from overwhelming a kitchen by driving too much that would disrupt anything in their core operations. But now what we're seeing is two things. One, increased demand for our brands from consumers. They want to have, a part of my cheesesteak be able to cater their office lunch, right? It's a great brand for them to have on site. And then two, the restaurants are leaning into these large orders. And so I think you'll see quite a bit more on the catering side. But we just have to work very closely to make sure that they have the team, it doesn't impact day-to-day operations, and that they have the proper notice, like you said, pre-scheduled
Yeah,
deliveries.
awesome.
Yeah.
We'll have to keep a lookout for that.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense though. Like you said, it would start out initially making sure that it's almost an add-on for these restaurants to bring them new revenue, and now once the demand's there, it becomes another facet of business where this is the business as a whole. So,
Yeah.
very, very interesting.
The reason I brought that up is just because a lot of brands, I don't want to say a lot of brands, some brands that you run into, their bread and butter's inside their four walls, right? They don't think of catering. Maybe it's a mom and pop location, or it's more of a regional play. They want to get people that are inside or in their drive-through, or coming in to sit down. They want to worry about those guests.
Yeah, convert them.
But they haven't even tapped into the catering, right? Which is a very profitable and lucrative business for them. If they had a playbook, they had a product, I could only imagine, and there's already a name to it.
Especially if it's just plug and play.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that'd be worth hiring a couple people on staff to prepare. That's all. Just getting the juices flowing.
You'll see our brands, like I said, it's an omni-channel approach, right? The stronger that the brands are, the more revenue they can drive to these kitchen space operators. And, we already have brands that will appear within stadiums at sports games, or you'll see them on college campuses. And so we're expanding our consumer brands into different non-traditional kitchen spaces to be able to strengthen the brand, continue to drive more revenue for any kitchen anywhere with extra capacity, and provide more ways for the consumer to actually experience a connection to these creators. I mean, it's a full cycle of what we're doing, and we really sit at the intersection of so many facets of the delivery, last mile, consumer, creator, and restaurant landscape.
Absolutely.
Yeah, unbelievable. And I do, obviously we're on a time schedule here, so I don't want to take up too much of your time here, but I have one last question kind of related to the creator economy as a whole. You're pretty tuned into all of that. And, I've seen people, that I follow, like Gary Vee. You were just on Sean Walchef's podcast, Restaurant Entrepreneurship. Great people that I've had conversations with. And a lot of what we're seeing in kind of futuristic thoughts are, what verticals are these creator economy brands going to continue to disrupt, right? So you have Logan Paul and KSI. They have Prime attacking the athletic, drink. You have Gatorade, Powerade, kind of overcoming that. You have Dobrik creating Dobrik's Pizza brand out in LA. I'm sure more of those are going to be popping up across the United States here very shortly. Do you see anything on your front that you think, that's easily accessible to these creators that you think, it's in due time that they will overcome these kind of old brands that haven't revolutionized or begun to, get bigger and better?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's no category that's not available to anyone with an existing audience. It just has to be authentic. And I think what we're going to see is the focus on distribution. A lot of the products that you mentioned or that we've seen started either on D2C. With more of an e-com focus, right? It was easier to just immediately monetize by building your own site and selling product directly. But now a lot of those products are shifting into retail wholesale and following even more of a traditional distribution model within the category. And so I look at it not so much from is somebody going to be making a candle or an energy drink or a merch line, but how are they going to build something that's authentic to what they do and the content and the audience they already have? And then the second piece is that what is going to be the distribution to get that product to be available to the largest percentage of the community that they reach. And those are going to be the areas where I think we'll see more innovation and strengthening of these brands, as opposed to just like what is the particular product, is it a toothpaste concept or a guitar pick, right? It could be anything.
Yeah, authenticity. I think that's kind of what I'm coming away with here. It's just how authentic is it to you, and does it fit your brand? It's not, like we said, it's not something you're forcing on yourself to make happen. It's just kind of fits right in because it does.
Yeah, I mean, there's enough fluff out there in the world. People just want something that's real, that's genuine. So it's not some crazy robust answer, but it makes sense.
Yeah,
makes perfect sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I think we all have to kind of be looking out for, or I'm definitely interested to see how this shifts, is the advertising model within the marketplaces. I would be remiss not to call that out because it's something that has been, a pressure cooker, I think, for anyone that has a concept that's available on one of these marketplaces, is that we're almost shifting back to the old Grubhub model of, you've got your different tiers and it's somewhat pay to play. And so when we talk about whether it's last mile logistics, partnerships on the marketplaces, I think just the economic model becomes in question where, the gig economy was subsidized by venture dollars for a long time, and the companies just can't operate at that rate anymore. So you see the third party marketplaces increasing their rates and having to find extra revenue, and they're doing that from advertising and putting pressure on brands like ours and any others in the category to pay for additional visibility. So I don't know where that's going to net out for everyone, but I think it's definitely a challenge, something that we all talk about in the industry, of this new advertising and promotion based visibility within these third party marketplaces. So that's one thing that I just think I'm very top of mind with what's going on right now.
Yeah, that's very interesting too. So you're basically saying like they would, because they're in lieu of advertising dollars, they would basically say, pay us this much for your brand to be featured at the top of the list, as opposed to A, B, C, D other brands.
And maybe not in as literal way like that, but yes. I mean, there's hundreds of thousands of brands out there, and just when you think about stack ranking them in order of visibility, would you prefer to be at the top or in the middle or towards the bottom? And of course, to get the most amount of orders, you'd prefer to be at the top. But that placement becomes more in demand, and therefore you can start charging for it. And so it's a natural evolution for those businesses, but it creates a challenging situation for companies to not only have to pay for the services of the delivery and logistics side of things, but then also to boost the visibility to even get that order to begin with.
Cool. Yeah, it's very interesting. Very, very interesting. Cool. Well, Stephanie, I appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for joining us. It's a very good conversation, something I was looking forward to. So Virtual Dining Concept's a great brand. Anywhere people can find you social media wise, find VDC, anything along those lines?
Yes, absolutely. On LinkedIn, Stephanie Sollers, on Instagram and Twitter at Craig and Sollers. And then for Virtual Dining Concepts, our website, joinbdc.com, as well as regular updates on LinkedIn.
Cool.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate your time today. I'm sure we'll be seeing you out on the conference scene maybe throughout the year. But yeah, again.
Oh yeah, I hope you do like a red carpet, quick, interview series as you walk around the show floor.
Hey, we're getting there. We'll be out there. Don't reveal ideas before they get out there. Let's keep we need to keep this stuff in house sometimes.
Oh yeah. Well, as Coco Chanel would say, it's everyone can have an idea. It's all about execution.
Awesome. Amazing. We'll
hell of a way
close
to
it out
end it.
on that. Yeah. I appreciate your time again, and we'll talk very soon.
See ya.
Of course. Thank you.